Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Birth Back to Wild. I'm your host, Jessica, and today's episode is going to be about my story. I'm not always good at talking about my own history and my own story around birth. Um, Another little shadow work I can get into, but today is going to focus on that very thing because it's a huge part of why I'm in birth work, but not only the birth part of um, motherhood, but also the nutritional purification process that goes with it, as well as the body work aspect, our body wisdom. Um, my history is unique in terms of what I've studied throughout my life. So it's a culmination of my own self studies and the bringing together of the pieces of each study that resonates deepest with me, that has had the greatest impact on my life and my own growth. And through the nutritional training I've had, the detoxification process, being a yoga teacher and personal trainer in my history, I've done a lot of work with the body, movement. I've been a dancer as a child. I've always been a dancer. Movement's always been a big part of my life. And then my own journeying into shadow work, which has been really, 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 really a big expansive piece of my embodiment journey as well. And then coming into motherhood and my own birth journeys, and then going to radical birth school. Um, there's so much I, I'm bringing together, and that I will be bringing into fruition in this year. And I'm super excited to bring some programs and workshops to my website. And that's Wildly Awakened Motherhood. You can check out my services and what I have to offer there. And I also have a Facebook group, Wildly Awakened Motherhood, that you can join through a link below or on my Instagram link or search it on Facebook. And then I also have a YouTube channel with other videos and more work there. So all the links are below if you want to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, or check out my website and what I have to offer. So to start my story, I think it's important to note that I was never one who really questioned healthcare too much. Um, I just kind of went along with what you're told, go get your shots, go to your regular visits, do your pap smears. And once I got pregnant, of course, I was terrified. So the first thing I did was go to a prenatal visit with an OB, got my, you know, the confirmation of my pregnancy and all that stuff. And I was starting to step a little bit more into holistic wellness as a personal trainer, and I had recently been certified as a yoga teacher. So I was starting to shift a little bit more into more holistic and whole food living. So I knew I wanted the nurse midwife as opposed to an OB. So that was a route I had gone. I had just started my journey into researching vaccines and all the other stuff related to motherhood. So I was not fully aware of everything. I had no idea what to expect in pregnancy and in the birth experience. I didn't have any friends, close friends that had had babies, so I really didn't even know what to expect. So I just went along like most women do. Just go along with what the doctor tells you, go along with the visits that they tell you you're supposed to do. And that's just how birth is. Long story short, once I was at 37 weeks. Shortly prior to that, I started having symptoms of preeclampsia. I had kind of elevated blood pressure throughout the whole pregnancy. And then I was starting to have edema a lot more. So I was definitely having a lot of more swelling and water weight in my legs and lower body. I'd gained quite a bit of weight, I think around 60, 70 pounds by like 30 weeks. So, and I wasn't, like I said, I was a fairly, what I would consider doing what's healthy as a personal trainer and a nutritionist at the time. I was following what I thought at the time, based on what I was learning, and I was in a Lifetime Fitness and an industry that was positioning themselves as more ahead of the curve when it came to nutrition. So I was doing the supplements and the powders and the protein diet. So I thought I was doing everything right. Turns out it wasn't as right as I thought it was. And I ended up being diagnosed with preeclampsia once they found protein in my urine, and I was admitted into the hospital at 37 weeks, and then I was induced that night. Now, I knew I didn't want to do inductions. I didn't want to do epidurals. I didn't want to do any types of drugs or post-Pitocin or any of it. So I was a fairly stubborn person when it came to what they wanted to do to me, and I know I irritated the nurses and the midwife, but not everybody is that outspoken, you could say. I went along with a lot of things, but I was also outspoken in what I didn't want. I knew I did not want to end up in a C-section. And preeclampsia, if you've ever been diagnosed with preeclampsia and gone through it, so often they push the drugs and the inductions and everything that pushes you into a C-section. It happens far too often. And in my opinion now, looking back, preeclampsia is not a reason to induce. It's not. There are many reasons that should put you into an immediate C-section. And from my perspective, an induction only increases your risk. It does not reduce them. So when doctors want to induce, the reason they want to induce is so that it puts them in the position of control. They are now the ones in charge. They are the ones giving the drugs. They are the ones who give you pain relief. They are the ones who call the shots. Because at that point now, you are vulnerable. You are in a vulnerable and submissive position to them in this circumstance. Now, at this point, I ended up allowing them to give me Cerbidil, which was an insertion into my vaginal canal to open or soften the cervix. That later to find out I know has a bunch of side effects. I allowed them to do a very low dose of Pitocin, about the lowest dosage you could do. They ended up giving me morphine overnight. I was in labor for 3 days. I gave birth to my son at the end of the 3rd day. They gave me morphine at night to be able to rest. I was on an IV drip the whole time. I was on fetal monitoring the whole time. Eventually, I was able to give birth to him on the end of the 3rd day, at which case they were saying at the end of that day, if I did not give birth to him vaginally, I would have a C-section the next day. Thankfully, he came that night, and I definitely know my own, prayers at that point helped him come. So I gave birth to him vaginally. I did not have any pain meds, actually. I did not have any pain medications or epidural. And I gave birth to him in a powerful squatting position. But immediately after that, I have many regrets because I was so exhausted at the end of everything. I feel like a lot of the drugs they had me on just made me crash at the end. But they increased the dose of Pitocin to help bring the placenta out after having the morphine drugs, which I never took much for medications. Being on the IV drips, I know that can cause some issues over an extended time as well. And then I had struggles. They took my baby away that night immediately. He was in the nursery for the first night. I didn't even really get to fully breastfeed until the next day. And then my milk didn't actually come in for a couple weeks. So I had to use donor milk and an SNS system to nurse. And it was so much stress. There was so much stress and like guilt and discomfort and shame all along this entire process. It took me a long time to even want to have another baby because I didn't want this to happen again. And then I was able to find Dr. Morse, who encourages a fruit-based and herbal detoxification to cleanse your body and regenerate at a cellular level. And I started a protocol under him with herbs because I knew as someone who has been working in the fitness and nutritional industry that something in my body wasn't working right. And now I don't want anyone to there's a bit of layers. So there's layers here, okay? And we're going to break down the layers as I have broke them down for myself over time. One, I want to say your body is not broken. You are capable of giving birth to a baby in almost any circumstance, and you are much more powerful than a doctor generally will give you credit for. You are built to birth a baby as a mammal in your raw, primal, instinctual nature. If it is undisturbed and you are allowed to be in a comfortable and safe and protected environment, when you're able to let go, not worry about accommodating other people, having to protect yourself in a hospital environment where you feel like you're on edge and on defense all the time, if you're in an environment at home with only a couple people that you trust 1,000%, you are able to fully surrender to the birth process. And in these situations, your body is not broken. You are fully capable of birthing yourself, regardless of your health or previous births before that. There is no justification to induction or an automatic C-section, in my opinion. So, with that said, I also have an awareness after studying under Dr. Morse as a detox specialist. I say I'm a regenerative nutritionist. That's the title I go by. I also understand now that our bodies have weaknesses that have been created over our lifetime, the way our bodies have been fed, the way we were nurtured by our parents, the way we were treated in childhood, whether it be traumas, how our emotions have been supported throughout our life. All of these emotional, physical, and spiritual components create a blueprint in your body of your overall wellness blueprint, you could say. It imprints in your body as a general blueprint for your body. And based off of these weaknesses, I'm going to call it a weakness for sake of understanding. There are inner dysfunctions. And in American culture, almost every single person has organ weakness, usually around the kidneys, the liver, the lymphatic system, and adrenal glands. There are weakness and generally the digestive tract. So many, I'd say 99% of people are constipated because your body is dehydrated. So if we consider this, we consider this general truth that American society has a generally sick culture, and we carry these weaknesses carried down from our mothers, and that have happened throughout our life, that has created weaknesses and inner dysfunction of our organs and lymphatic systems. Those factors will affect your level of health in pregnancy. So, from the way I have observed it, any of these little issues that might be small or minor or have very subtle signals prior to pregnancy will be amplified in pregnancy. Why? Because when you get pregnant, your body will undergo, this is why morning sickness happens. Your body undergoes a certain level of a detoxification in your first trimester, which helps cleanse and purify your body in order to carry and develop your baby in the womb. So it's very strong in the first trimester, and that's usually why miscarriages happen in this trimester as well. Now, as pregnancy continues, it tries to maintain this level of higher health and cleansing throughout pregnancy. So when we have weaknesses already within the body, say your kidneys are weak, you are going to have elevated symptoms of preeclampsia. Because from what I have found and what I noticed in myself and other women I have talked to around this topic, preeclampsia is not just linked to the liver, it is highly linked to the kidneys. So when your kidneys are already weakened, you have tough time breaking down proteins and amino acids for the body to absorb. Then we have preeclampsia develop, and that is why we see protein in the urine. That is why we see edema and the swelling, and that is why we see elevated blood pressure, because the kidney and adrenals are the key factors in your blood pressure. And I have gotten the recommendation as well to do the brewer's diet or do higher protein diets when you have preeclampsia. I now adamantly oppose them because if your body, so what happens is you might see in pregnancy, if you do a higher protein diet, you may see a diminishing of symptoms, or at least a leveled symptomology by following a higher protein diet. Now, this is not because you are healing preeclampsia. It is because you are moderating it. But what will happen after pregnancy is that your weakness is still there. Your kidney issues, and likely adrenal issues as well, along with liver and lymphatic, will still be there. So once you are no longer pregnant, you do not want to do heavy detoxification in pregnancy unless there is a very severe circumstance that requires it. Like if you have cancer or something like that. Now, after pregnancy, if you have had preeclampsia or gestational diabetes, anything like that, it is crucial for you to undergo some sort of nutritional cleansing and allow the body to detoxify and regenerate, because if you get pregnant again, those same issues will come up in any other pregnancy. So that is why I am a big advocate for purification, purifying the body before pregnancy. So if you have had any health issues prior and are nervous getting pregnant again because you don't want to have the same health issues come up, namely preeclampsia or gestational diabetes, this is why I do the purification program, Purify. And the Purify workshop I'm going to be doing is this month, January 18th. If you want to sign up, go to my website, it's pay what you want, and you can catch my first launch of the Purify workshop. Now, after I had my first baby, I did all of these detoxification. I went full fruit actually for a good month or two. And after I did these deep cleansing, I had a lot of symptom cessation and a lot of what we call healing crisis in the detox specialist community, because our symptoms, and this is highly misunderstood in allopathic medicine as well, our symptoms are signals of the body's detoxification process. It is your body seeking healing. So symptoms should not just be suppressed with medicine. Your symptoms need to be amplified, and you need to listen to them in order to identify what's going on in the body. Every little symptom, whether it be emotional, mental, or physical, will be a guiding post for your healing journey. They all link together. It's not just a specialized circumstance of like, this has to do with the liver, this has to do with the kidneys. We're going to go see a specialist for this and get drugs. You're going to go see a specialist for that and get different drugs. No, that's not healing the body. Your body is an interconnected network. It is an ecosystem. It is all linked together. It is not a separate specialized unit. It's not a bunch of little separate units that are then put in the body and forced to work together. Everything is interconnected. If you look at a really good example is to look at your spine and nervous system. It runs from top to bottom through your entire body and through every appendage and comes and links back into the spine. The organs are the same thing. Everything links together. So the kidney issue isn't just in the kidneys. It links back to digestion. It links back to the colon. It links back to the nervous system and the lymphatic system. And that is why a whole body nutritional detox is necessary. And no, this is not an advertisement to go do a 3-day fast or like a little detox, a 1-day detox or something like that. Regenerative nutrition is about completely shifting your diet in a way that supports the natural detoxification process of your body with fruits and herbs. Why fruits and herbs? Because fruits are the most easily absorbable, nourishing, and hydrating foods for your body. So when you begin to remove everything else and solely focus on fruits, not vegetables, fruits, you allow the body to begin to cleanse, very deeply cleanse. And as you cleanse everything out, it removes obstructions in the body. It gets your lymphatic system working better. The colon is the key to a lot of it. If you are congested and you are not eliminating appropriately, then you are holding toxicity in your digestive tract and it goes back. You're basically allowing toxins to move back up the intestinal tract into the stomach, which then goes up the esophagus and back into the throat. So if you're not eliminating, you're holding and creating a toxic overload in their body. Now, adjusting what you eat is a big part of it. Supporting your body with certain herbal remedies, herbal teas, and tinctures is another big part of it. But it's also an entire lifestyle of understanding what you are contributing to the toxic overload in your body. We have a threshold of what your body can take in as far as a toxic exposure on a daily basis. You have the toxic threshold. Once you exceed that, then you're in overload. And basically all Americans are in overload all day, every day. So once you start to shift, that's where holistic wellness comes in. Eliminating all of the things that are contributing to toxic overload in your body. That means changing cleaning products, changing how you eat, changing how you clean your body, changing anything you put on your skin or hair, or burning in your home. Candles have a high level of toxicity. Bringing in more herbal products, earth-based, nature-based, clothes, what you put on your skin, everything that you put on your skin and that you breathe in will impact the toxic overload. So it's not just about nutrition, it is a whole lifestyle change. And once I did that, I was able to enter my second birth, my home birth, in a completely different level of sovereignty. I knew what I wanted. I was committed to it. I was in my body fully, and I was listening to every little feeling and sensation and movement and understanding that my body was leading. And the midwife I had was excellent in allowing that to happen. She did not push or poke and prod. And actually, she didn't even she didn't even make it to my house until maybe a half hour before I had gave birth to him. But it was the most exhilarating, liberating, and transformative experience of my life. And I've never been the same since. And that child is one of the most wise, higher vibrational, just wise consciousness being. And this is where my intention or my inspiration with birth isn't just in how you birth, like physically. It is the energetic imprints that are created in how you birth. It's not just giving birth that, because there's so many other things that can be happening around you or being done to you that isn't creating a beautiful, energetic environment, a free-flowing, energetic environment, a space of comfort and safety and protection. And a baby that emerges in that way, in that really liberated and sovereign space, you're creating the blueprint for their life. And I know of my 3 babies, my middle son was brought into this world in a really magical way. And I felt the expansion in my body. I felt the vulnerability and like the surrender in the process. And I feel he is an example of that every day. Because my 3rd baby, I gave birth at home as well. However, the emotions around his birth was very different because my husband and I had had issues for quite a while and had been considering divorce. And then we found out we were pregnant with number 3. And then we both just kind of fell into the routine again of pregnancy and birth and parenthood. And that is where we both really lost. But our 3rd baby is our little happy light. He is our beam of light. And I feel we were meant to bring our 3 boys into this world for a reason. And then I remember before we got divorced, I went into a meditation and kind of a shamanic journey and asked what the point of all of that was, what the point of my marriage was, if there was something there I was missing. And the message I got back was that we were meant to have our children, and our karmic, our the word for it, our work was done. That was our purpose, was to bring our babies forward into this world. So I cannot regret our marriage or anything about it, because without it, I would not have my baby. And that's part of this awakening process as well. It's understanding purpose and all. Like your own awakening journey is so powerful and transformative. And it helps with your own self-responsibility and the radical reclamation of your body and your spirit and your mind, and just embodying the journey on earth and what it means, what you truly want to create. Because we all are here to create something magical. And the way we birth our babies creates the imprint for their life on earth. Thank you so much for being here and listening to my story. Love and gratitude to all of you.